Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Joy Asonye Live today. And as you know, it's Friday, so it's the Buy NAIJA hour here on KAFTAN television, where we talk about how Nigeria can grow, especially its GDP, using several indicators that the Buy NAIJA project already has. We're talking SMEs. MSMEs, I apologize. My guest will soon wring my neck. He doesn't like us to forget about the micro in the MSMEs. So we're talking about the MSMEs, we're talking about the economy, and today we'll be focusing on what Nigerians are thinking with the removal of fuel subsidy and the attendant effect. It seems like Nigerians are groaning, and just like other Nigerians who seem to have what it takes to get us out of this place, my guest today will be telling us how Nigeria can look inward, homegrown solutions to, cushion the effect of the end of fuel subsidy. Chairman Buy NAIJA Project, Apostle William Iheanacho Otabil. Thanks again for being part of the program today.
Good evening, Joy, and good evening to long-suffering Nigerians and the deeper suffering micro and small enterprises. For since the fuel subsidy removal saga, it has not been funny. Like I always say, the boys are not smiling. Now, both the boys and the men and the women, they are not smiling. So it is within the context of that I would like us to focus on, one, the automotive industry, and of course, the issue of palliatives, but above all, in this period of fuel subsidy removal suffering, we want to look at a major segment of the Made in Nigeria campaign, which is purchase of Made in Nigeria vehicles. And one of the biggest buyers of goods and services is government. We've talked about government, we've talked about shared facility, industrial clusters. Those things are big grammar. But on the spot right now, the National Assembly has budgeted is it 40 billion, as we read in the papers, to purchase vehicles. And I still want to believe it's a rumor, but it is strongly rumored, it is strongly said that
speculation has it.
That's speculation has it, but there are records to say that they have ruled out buying Made in Nigeria vehicles, that they would rather go abroad to buy, like they have always done, because we have it on record that the National Assembly, the last National Assembly that just left, they blatantly refused to buy Made in Nigeria vehicles, and they bought foreign vehicles. In fact, they bought Toyota, they bought all manner of vehicles, but they never bought Made in Nigeria vehicles. And the disaster, the tragedy is about to repeat itself. I want to use those words because government cannot have a policy, exactly like as 003 says, that 40% of procurement by government will have a minimum of at least 40%. And in this case, I believe there has to be a deliberate channeling of those scarce resources to build our economy, to grow the GDP of this country, especially in these times that Nigerians are groaning. It will be a disaster of the nth kind if the legislature, that is the National Assembly, will go ahead to procure their vehicles again. what's over 40 billion, or is it 70? I don't even know. There's another one, they say 100 billion for palliatives.
Whatever it may be.
But na money.
And a lot of money.
Plenty of money.
Not to mention, if this came back into our
the
economy,
system, trap the money. It will create jobs.
So do we have indigenous automobile manufacturing factories, or rather companies that have well-designed automobiles that will fit the taste, this foreign taste of our legislators?
What I want to call it is an unusually obnoxious consumption pattern.
Unusually obnoxious
consumption pattern, because the typical made in Nigeria vehicles have more rugged than the imported ones.
Maybe rugged, maybe they want it luxurious and fancy.
The enough luxury you want is produced by these people too. If you want a luxurious vehicle,
not luxurious
vehicle.
I'm just talking about fancy looking vehicles.
No, I try to embellish it to suit their fancy.
Right.
The innocent G80.
Are you going to be advertising brands?
I'm not. I'm just telling them in case somebody didn't wake up properly and does not know that they exist. If you want me, I will escort you to go and buy it and show you that this is where you will get this. So there are vehicles that will meet their spec. So I still find it very difficult to understand why over the years the Nigerian National Assembly has blatantly refused to buy made in Nigeria vehicles. I want to say it and say it over and over again. I've been riding a made in Nigeria vehicle for the past 10 years plus, and I've not opened the engine. No door fell out anywhere. The vehicle is performing well. I've gone to the east with it. I've gone to Lagos. I travel with it. And all the people using these vehicles are not complaining. The governor of Anambra State is using it. Throughout the tenure of the former governor, they bought it for traditional rulers. They bought it for the police. I make bold to declare with pride that the Nigerian Army, the armed forces.
I know the Pro-Force.
I'm coming to Pro-Force.
Right.
Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Navy, all their officers are using made in Nigeria vehicles, and they have field and operational vehicles made by innocent, and they have not complained. For that, I say kudos to the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right.
They have done very well in local patronage, but the same cannot be said of the National Assembly, with all due respect. It is a very bad thing for a man to reject the mother's food. You are telling the whole neighbors that you would rather go and eat food from imported mother than eat a food cooked by your mother. Like some of our jingles say, which kind of pikin go say mama soup no sweet? So tell mama bring food for them with visitors and everywhere. He say no, but then go bring food from another country. It's very, very scandalous. So I want to appeal to this, to our National Assembly members. They should not make that mistake for any reason. If they want armored vehicles, Pro-Force armors vehicle, and if you want your vehicles to be built to spec, Innocent will do that for you. They have the capability, and you have the option of petrol, diesel, CNG powered. In fact, they are doing conversion now to so many people.
Exactly.
And Innocent has the capability. I'm not advertising, but let nobody say they want to go and bring somebody from outside the country. If they want a conversion or gas filling facilities at the National Assembly, It will be done. I've said it before on this program. So there is no excuse whatsoever to export so much amount of money. For every time you buy imported products, you are exporting jobs. You are depleting your foreign exchange. You are creating unemployment here and creating employment in those countries.
True.
And you now turn around to say Nigerian youths are lazy. They are not. Where is the job? When you export all the money, you want to throw parties, you go and throw party abroad. Your children go to school abroad. In your garage, you have more than 15 imported vehicles. So, at what point do we now begin to grow the economy? You know, there are sometimes, just excuse me please, I wish that crude oil dries up. So we'll start run a real economy. All this rent-seeking, free money. If not, what stops us? If Innocent is not producing what you want, which is not true, why don't you establish more?
No, I didn't say that. I was just asking.
No, I'm just
maybe they are not fancy enough to their taste. It was just a
if
question
you
I was
give
asking.
spec to Innocent, I am aware he will build to your specification.
There are about 10 other indigenous.
There you have other indigenous companies. Now, if you go to them now, somebody will say, do they have the capacity? Combined, all of them have times 10 capacity that you want.
Really?
Yes.
Should Nigerians now start looking inward for vehicles?
They will be shouting it since. Nigerians want to look inwards. They are looking inwards. They eat made in Nigeria rice. We wear made in Nigeria shoe. I wear made in Nigeria clothes. Everything I do is made in Nigeria. Some people say your wristwatch is not. We don't have any wristwatch assembly plant here. Once you give today, I will drop all my imported wristwatches and buy made in Nigeria. I eat made in Nigeria gari, and our parties are thrown here. So I want to say that specifically on this program today, the National Assembly should buy all the vehicles they should buy should be made in Nigeria. Do they want people to now start protesting? Must all of us become civil rights activists? Must all of us carry placard? And they will say you are embarrassing the government. We are not embarrassing any government because the Nigerian Armed Forces are buying made in Nigeria. So many ministries, departments and agencies are buying made in Nigeria. The executive has a subsisting executive order 003 and 005. So it is the implementation now that is the issue. These people, I want to appeal to them. They will have a credibility deficit if they refuse to buy made in Nigeria in this particular season of anomy that we are into. They should buy made in Nigeria vehicle. If they want petrol, they will give them. If they want diesel, it's available. If they want CNG, it's available. If they want armored vehicles, Proforce is there. Proforce have been producing armored personnel carrier not only for Nigeria, for several other foreign countries. Innocent has been supplying vehicles to Sierra Leone, to so many other African countries. So why would our own, all the uncles and daddies will not say the food where their mama cook, where their auntie cook, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
But have you wondered about this 10th assembly? What happened to the immediate the vehicles procured by the immediate assembly? Are they all completely bad? What often happens if in truth this 10th assembly is serious about cutting cost of governance, like they said over and over? What's going on there?
Well, my sister,
yes,
we know that both executive and legislature, once a term finishes, most of the executive will cut away what they have. They will reward themselves with retirement benefits. What I know is that every budget year, it is likely that the National Assembly will buy cars. They will buy vehicles. And it's not just the 109 senators and the 300 and something, no. They have SAs. They have SSAs. They have PAs. Now they have the Legislators' Wives Association.
You saw that too.
Council. Of course! And they want vehicle, they have a budget.
No, I'm not sure about that, so I won't comment on it.
No, you cannot appoint people to office. You got to take care of them.
It's just an association. The people just want to have that one body voice.
Okay, this is yet early morning.
Right.
But if I know Nigeria, have you ever seen a first lady's office that doesn't have all the paraphernalia of PECs?
That comes with the office?
That's right. So we know, don't pretend that we don't live on the moon. We live here.
However, I'm not sure of that information, so I don't want to speculate and lead people astray. I did see the Association of Legislative Wives. I found it really ridiculous.
Somebody asked a question flowing from what you said. Is there going to be Association of Legislative Husbands for the females in the National Assembly?
There should be.
Because I know a couple of females. So their husbands should have an office. They should have a council. Is it executive?
An associate.
No, they have an executive council.
Right.
They have.
Do they have plenary too?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that too. But what I know is that this issue of purchase of vehicles and the issue of palliatives, we are becoming a peculiar country that is doing things in such a way. But I believe that this National Assembly, this time around, they will do the right thing by buying made in Nigeria. When you buy made in Nigeria, you create jobs. You build our GDP. You increase wealth. We need all these things at this time. And of course, we preserve foreign exchange. Where are you going to get the dollar? Do you know the dollar that you have to deploy to buy the things? Because out of this, if 110 billion is palliative, 40 or 70 billion is for vehicles.
Okay, I think let me quickly read out the plan, how it got to 110 billion. So there was a plan to spend 40 billion on 465 exotic and bulletproof cars for members and principal officials, and 70 billion naira as palliatives for new members. I think it accumulated to the 110 billion that you saw earlier.
It's all right whether it is 110 billion. 40 times plus 7, that is 40 plus 70 makes it 110 billion. That is
the 70 is for the new principal office.
Old or new?
New members.
Now the same kitchen.
Well, they need.
It's the same kitchen. Me myself, I'm a new Nigerian.
Where have you been?
I'm a renewed Nigeria. I want to build a new Nigeria. So where do I get my own palliative from?
You're right about that, but it's quite concerning that just a small number of Nigerians have arrogated that much amount to themselves for vehicles, and not even earmarking in Nigeria-made vehicles, which we would have. Is bad enough that about 100 million, if you do the calculation, like no, I mean 100 million per person. That's about the calculation that they did. I don't know how right that is. If that goes back into the industry, would it also have a ripple effect on MSMEs? That is, I'm trying to
have the multiplier effect is humongous. The multiplier effect cannot be easily calculated. You can imagine pumping in something close to, even if it is 70 billion naira into the automotive industry across board. That's a lot of investment.
It is.
It's a lot of investment. No matter how you convert it to dollar or to pounds or to anything, the job creation effect is heavy. Very, very heavy. So I can assure you, whichever way you look at it, if they do not buy made in Nigeria vehicles, Nigeria is the loser for it, and everybody has to wake up.
Right.
We cannot continue in this trajectory at this time where everybody cannot even move. The streets are empty. People cannot buy fuel. If you say, okay, 8,000 palliative is coming, I ask somebody, how many liters of fuel can 8,000 buy? Even for the Okada rider. How much fuel can you buy with 8,000 naira?
So it's obviously not sustainable.
It's not. How much rice can you buy with 8,000 naira? For a family of 6. You are a woman. How much does it take to cook the cheapest soup?
I
You don't know.
say.
You are a woman.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this.
It will not last 1 week.
The viewers already know where you're going. Your point is made. You don't have to put me on the pedestal.
I'll put you because you're a woman.
But I can understand. It's Nigerians are going through really harrowing experiences from all of this. And most importantly, in cases like this where you have an advocacy towards the legislator, how do you go about it? Because constitutionally, we should have those legislative offices in all constituencies. We should have those meetings, town hall meetings, intermittently. I don't see. I've never been invited.
There are advocacy groups, SERAP, and so many of them, which is their job. They've been screaming and shouting. We're only lending our voice within the context of the Buy NAIJA campaign, the Buy NAIJA project.
Right.
Buy Made in Nigeria. Buy NAIJA, create jobs. Transform Nigeria, Buy Made in Nigeria. It's within the context of our mandate. Now, we will scream, we will shout, we will go and make presentation to them in the days ahead to say, listen, don't do this. We will be quoting you as example of people who are not even obeying their own executive order.
Exactly. You don't know this executive order.
They do. Everybody knows.
Or should know.
Most of them, don't forget that they were governors. Most people in the National Assembly are retired governors. No, that's the truth. They are retired governors.
Right.
And they have projects and policies they put in place in their states before coming there. I am aware that the last governor, they were talking about car assembly plant in Akwa Ibom. There are many car assembly facilities, vehicle production facilities springing up across the country in the past 8 years. So if you are not buying what you are setting up,
exactly,
where are we going to get the patronage from? Well, do we now say that the exotic SUVs, why must they be exotic?
Because they are your legislators and they need to look the
most of the time the job their job should be part-time as far as I'm concerned.
They should look the part, if you ask me.
No, there's
the prestige that comes with having
with the office. Okay. All right, though, because I don't see being a senator is not supposed to be an exotic office.
Ideally. It should be service.
It should be service
all the way.
All the way. What is a legislator doing with 4 vehicles? What's it doing with 4 vehicles? These are liabilities, wasting assets. you asked a question. What happened to the accumulation of all the vehicles we've been buying from 1999? Okay, let's even peg it to 2015. Let's assume the 1999 would have rotted away.
Right.
The vehicles you bought 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they have all gone. So if we cannot even question you to account for them, can we please change our narrative, our operational paradigm, start buying made in Nigeria? And I think there's something I want to suggest, which we are pushing in the background. As a deal, we buy Nigeria ready to broker it. Let them buy made in Nigeria. Anybody hearing me should hear me well.
Right.
Including Innocent. Let there be a broker deal between the automotive manufacturers that if you people, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, all the players across board, buy made in Nigeria, after 2 years or 3 years, we will give you the latest model and take back the old one. That's
okay.
a deal. There are all manner of deals can be done. But let them agree first that our exotic vehicles meet their exotic tastes, so to speak. I don't want to use strong language.
No, I'm fine.
So that
I'm fine with.
My bad belly will not.
I'm fine with the language.
Yes, so they will make the vehicles as exotic as they want it to be. If they give the spec to the manufacturers, I'm ready to vouch for them that they are ready, willing, and able.
Okay.
Manufacturers that can produce vehicles to the spec of the armed forces, they can do a lot.
I agree with you. Well, it's time to go for a short break. When we return, we would now go to how we can solve the transportation debacle that you and I are facing. This is still by NAIJA here on Joy Asonye Live. We'll be right back shortly. There's plenty more. Welcome back from that short break. This is still the By NAIJA here on Joy Asonye Live, where we've been discussing the transport sector and exploring solutions. We've taken the conversation now to discuss how you and I can be salvaged. I know that Nigerians are going through tough times at the moment, moving from one end to the other. My guest, Apostle William Iheanacho Otabil, will give us his own suggestions as to how Nigerians can survive this unscathed, if there's such a thing. Because I've been seeing several videos online these days of people walking, like there's Trekkers Association of Nigeria. Some are even trying to get bicycles to get to their destinations. But what would you say the government should start rolling out as a matter of urgency?
The first thing first is the price of fuel has to come down.
It has to?
It has to.
That's to say you would want the
it
fuel
has to
subsidy.
be reviewed. People told us, the same scientists told us that the minute the fuel subsidy was removed, in quote, that the demand, the consumption dropped. You are paying subsidy on a particular volume, and the volume came to 1/3,
right?
Which means monies were being paid to people that
were not.
It was not. Now people are now importing at a supposed higher price, now trying to blame it on foreign exchange, which had remained stable for some time. Suddenly it jumped up. So you cannot
because Nigeria does not control the market forces. We are still
leave this market forces thing
on the dollar.
No, leave market forces thing.
What's your suggestion?
No,
I want to really understand. And
whatever palliative you want to give us.
I don't think you are included in these palliatives, but go ahead.
No, I don't care about the palliative.
Right.
Because they cannot fuel. It can't. The fuel that the palliative will buy cannot move me from my office to this studio.
You are already not in that dragnet for the palliative people.
Many Nigerians are not in that net because they are beyond that palliative, because their monthly consumption is very high, because prices are high. Prices are very, very high, and all of us will go to the same market, except those who shop abroad. Now, that's one. That's the only practical way.
I don't think we really exhausted that. Your first, what you term the first practical way of going back to paying subsidies.
No, we are not going back to paying subsidies.
Reviewing the
Let us review the supposed subsidy removal and review the things that causes the push in our forex.
Buy NAIJA? We are not buying.
You are not buying made in Nigeria. There is capital flight. The easiest way of capital flight is for you to buy made in China, made in Japan. You send money out there.
Exactly.
So why are you telling me?
There's pressure on the naira.
There's a pressure on the naira and forex demand. Apart from the ones they hide under the bed, the ones that are hidden in the farm, we read it in the papers. They will say they raided somebody's house and they found $90 billion, 190 billion. I didn't write them.
You read it just like the rest of us.
Like the rest of us. So the more you demand for foreign goods, the more your exchange rate goes high. Then the more you now tell me the fuel price will be going up. At what point do we reach the equilibrium? It will never happen.
Okay, so this I need to get it right. Your perspective as to how we can get away from here is review the fuel subsidy by doing what exactly?
Whichever way you know that you move the motor, you do a U-turn. Yes, now you reverse some of the things you did, because this is not sustainable. This price of fuel we are calling. Some people are postulating that the thing will get up to 1,000 naira, some say 750.
Some are saying it will drop drastically as well.
At what point? The only way to make it drop is to review all the mechanics that are artificial, that have brought us to this quagmire. That's the only way. You attack this fuel matter. Let's just even face it. Why would we have to refine crude oil abroad?
Because your refineries have not worked for a long time now.
That is my dead father's fault. It's not rocket science to refine crude oil to petroleum products.
It seems to be for Nigerians, except
the boys
to become private, like Dangote has
the boys in the creek. They do it like they are chewing a stick. Then you now go and destroy their crude refinery.
The illegal.
Calling it illegal refinery. That is crazy.
Because of the environmental degradation that the illegal refinery has.
You only need to give them chrome steel, tanks, pipes, make it organized. We did a pilot on micro refinery. You know the biggest challenge? We couldn't get crude to test it.
Maybe you should have acquired it from.
No. All these boys, they follow the same principle that you have in your big refinery. All the licenses they gave for modular refinery, what happened to them? Those ones that don't have environmental blah 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 blah. Where are they?
I just
they are not working. Why? Akwa Ibom is supposed to have a refinery. It never saw the light of day. They issued a lot of modular refinery licenses. This is plug and play. What happened? It is a deliberately anti-made in Nigeria issue. Little boys who just studied chemistry, they refine crude.
I don't understand when you say it's a deliberate anti-made in Nigeria plan, because what would anybody...
Because why would anybody not let a mini micro refineries run? Why will our refineries not function? What is in a refinery? Now iron, no. And some electronic that you can't remove and replace. We go school now.
I mean,
no
argument there, but
the point is that we can have all our refineries plus the ones they gave license to functioning in 3 months. Modular refineries, don't go large, just do the small ones. 5 million barrels per day stream, 5,000 barrels per day stream, 10,000 barrels per day stream.
Even if it just serves two states.
Don't serve 2 states. Serve, if you have 5 in Cross River, it will be enough for them.
Right.
How many millions of petrol, of diesel and kerosene do they consume? The crude oil is there that people are even stealing. It doesn't take anything. If it is too hard for them, let them call my Niger Delta children to come and teach them how to do refinery. It's not a rocket science. So if you now prefer to refine your crude abroad, then you now turn around to tell me you are paying subsidy. That is standing logic on his head. There is nothing stopping us from refining our crude locally. Deregulate, decentralize it. Now, what is the difference between people mining gold, artisanal miners, and artisanal crude oil people? All are extractive industry.
Exactly.
All of them are from inside ground. So what is the difference between gold?
Nigeria is not paying too much attention on that because we are not depending on it for our GDP.
No, that's not the issue. The issue is, I call it self-inflicted quagmire. I don't want to call it witchcraft. You can refine crude here, you leave it. Then you go and refine the crude in America, then bring it back in, then begin to tell me to suffer the thing that we are suffering now.
Right.
You own the crude oil. Now you get the palm oil. Now you get the pepper. Now you get the crayfish. But you will not take all your raw ingredients. They go and cook it in China. Then you will not give me imported soup and tell me to pay extra money. That this is the cost that government has incurred for going to refine crude outside. Why? If they cannot refine crude, let them hand it over to the people who can do the job, refine it and deliver at good price. No, but you still hold the market. And some people are feeding very fat, trillions from it. That is the truth of the matter. What reason do you have for not buying made in Nigeria vehicles? Made in Kaduna or made in Newi? Nothing. Why will you abandon IVM to go and buy Toyota? For what? It's a deliberate act. And I'm so disappointed with the elites. Everybody is keeping quiet.
They just admitted that some of them are eating fat, so why would they need to speak up? But we're dwelling too much on just the first one. Let's move ahead to your other.
Then the easiest quick win is mass transit buses. Made in Nigeria mass transit buses. They are there.
I will ask for the last time. Do we have the capacity to produce as many
Madam,
vehicles.
You want me to drive
necessary.
in one, yes, for you to know we have capacity.
I mean, driving in one does not mean we have enough that would serve
There
the
is
entire
enough
Nigeria. We're talking
capacity.
interstate.
We want to do, planning to do a documentary on some of these areas that people lay wrong claims on. If you want, government wants to buy 1,000 mass transit buses, the federal government, which includes other wings of the federal government, other arms. Innocent can provide it alone, not to talk of the other people. They can provide it without batting an eyelid. Within a period of 2-3 months, they are there. Have you booked order with Innocent and he didn't deliver? A particular governor booked order for 250 SUVs for traditional rulers and booked for carriers, that is trucks for the police. And they paid Innocent in advance. And he delivered very well. If you now get to some of these younger automotive companies and give them enabling capital,
Right.
they will be able to ramp up their operations. If they are producing 500 vehicles a day, they will be able to produce 1,000 vehicles a day, because they now have more money to pump into equipment and to pay staff, to get more assets, to increase their capacity. But every time, every year, the money is sent out, your forex goes,
Depletes, really.
yes, then you now charge me again through fuel prices.
It's been an unfortunate circle we've been going.
Yes, we'll be going through. And the reason they give for all those fundamentals are caused by the actions of the elites. I won't, don't let us call a spade
Something else.
And say it is not, because we want to be in the good books of your friends, we want to be in the good books of the elites. Because at the end of the day, we have no other country like Nigeria. And the whole Africa is looking up to us. So why would African countries be ordering vehicles from Nigeria, including Belarus, taking armored vehicles from Nigeria?
And Nigeria is not seeing
And the
qualities that we
Nigerian
have.
legislators are very proud to say that they are riding exotic SUVs that is fit for kings. By the time you know what is happening, you will now have a country of ex-governors, ex-senators with very fat salaries, and all the ordinary Nigerians will have to go and found their own country. We are going there because people are trekking to work. Some people now, they told some lecturers, or they are playing with the idea of come to work only 2 days. According to all these people who do skits, who does a thing like that? How can you reduce work days, reduce productivity? Very soon they will start laying people off just because they can't get to work. So mass transit for civil servants in the first instance. The nation will be suffering a loss if you reduce the productivity of civil servants, of a public people, of public servants, the private sector. Very soon now, you now tell me some banks close by 3 because people have to start trekking. I went to a bank one day to do some transaction, something I could do before for less than 30 minutes.
Right.
They now made me to spend more than 2 hours and told me closing time was 3 o'clock. I said, well, are you sure I'm in the right bank? They say yes. They are closing by 3 so that people can start charting their course back home. That's a tragedy. So I think mass transit solution made in Nigeria is a better option than this palliative thing of sending cash. Now, something about palliative. There's something brewing I mentioned about 2 weeks ago. In the days of COVID, they collected names of people for palliative. Some got 200,000, 300,000. They collected account of ordinary people.
People did get up to 300,000.
Yes, okay. As I learned from the report. Because people are crying now. Suddenly, recently, they converted the palliative to loan. And they are negotiating the exit from the loan, or they are doing direct debits on those people's account. And the people who did the go-between, who were the politicians, had eaten about 70% of the money.
Okay, I need you to take us back a little for those who do not understand. During the COVID-19 era, when Nigerians were also scrambling to survive, I remember the social intervention that the past administration reeled out. What you're saying now is that some of those social interventions, which were supposed to be grants, are being
presently taken back as repayment of loan, full money, whereas the in-between people who collected the names of these people had eaten the icing and the cake.
So, if 500,000 naira was supposed to be given to you, the middlemen still had access to it?
Oh, yes, no. They have access because you need to make returns.
Okay, so they took a certain percentage from that money?
They took a certain percentage because by NAIJA office have been receiving a lot of reports.
Right.
You know, 2 weeks ago I said there's something brewing.
Right.
Now palliative becomes punitive.
Punitive. I didn't see that one coming, but
yes, it became punitive because if you told somebody it's a palliative for business, because these are small people.
I'm not sure which of the loans you're talking about. And
no,
because it was actually a loan too. At the time, I know the government had advertised a loan, zero interest loan.
That is different.
Right.
It's different from palliative.
So you're talking about that grant that...
the grant now became a loan and they are telling the people to pay back.
And they had no idea they had to pay back. Before...
when you call it a grant and you're a big politician or you go between, takes your name and your bank account.
Apostle, can you remember the name of what they called this particular grant? I
will give you names and even numbers of people who they are debiting.
Right.
Because they are public figures and public institutions. It's not I don't know their name, but I'm still doing our investigation for facts, figures, names and numbers.
Because I am supposed to go to the facts. I would need to have this.
No, but it's brewing.
Right.
Why I'm not naming names is to be very double sure of the specifics, figures. But people are murmuring and complaining.
Until we can confirm these details. Is that why some people are very skeptical about another palliative plan?
That is the point, because all this social reinvestment, recently, this present government is invalidating the register of the recipients of...
Would you blame them?
I don't blame them, because how could you have fed school children during lockdown? Was it e-feeding?
It's possible.
It happened. some billions of naira. In fact, $242 million converted were given out under 1 week for poor people and to feed people during lockdown. So if you now begin to talk of other palliative, people already have a learning curve. So I will advise that tangibly, let government even start with mass transit buses. Subsidize the mass transit buses.
Like we heard about the Rivers State Governor, Sim Fubara, who has provided, although his was about 17 buses, but free of charge to move civil servants around.
Good. 17 buses is very small. So if the federal government can set the tone, don't use, okay, if you can go ahead, use it, but you rather put your palliative budget and buy made in Nigeria mass transit buses.
CNG, electric,
oh,
LNG.
CNG, don't put fuel. Buy CNG. If you don't know where to buy, like I tell you as a worry man, Port Harcourt boy, I go escort you go show you where you go buy CNG. He did. So you can imagine CNG buses like 100 in Abuja, 100 in Lagos. Lagos has a population of over 22 million. Abuja, I think Abuja has a population of close to 10 million now. And now more people have moved in, more politicians have come to join the old politicians. People don't move out of Abuja because it's the seat of government.
I wouldn't know why.
Why are you here?
Because I'm doing my job.
You are doing your job. Okay,
yeah.
that person, okay. He's looking for a job too. So mass transit for civil servants.
Right.
Then mass transit made available to transport companies at favorable terms and conditions. And above all, tax rebates for micro and small enterprises.
Okay.
Tax rebates, not taxing them more. Because any taxing that goes beyond the suffering of the people now you say you don't chop meat, one chop bone join. Now you are not going to the bone. So tax rebates for micro, small and medium enterprises. Don't be giving rebate to oligopolies and the large enterprises. They don't need it.
Right.
Let us patronize made in Nigeria vehicles. Let us intervene in the issue of mass transit, especially transportation that moves goods from the rural areas to the consumption points.
Right.
So that it will help ameliorate the suffering of the rural people. Even if you are in government, you have your mother in the village, your aunties, they will be putting pressure on you to send a lot. They will put pressure on you that hunger is killing them.
Exactly.
So there is no way you can escape the net. Then people, the other day, my estate had no light for about 5 days. What happened? Some people went to exhume power cables.
Just to steal them.
They stole them, they cut them.
Wow. Apostle William Iheanacho, thank you so much for being part of the program. It's always very interesting to have you. And I'm happy we discussed this, but we have to leave until next week. I'm sure we would have so much more planned for you on the Buy NAIJA Hour next week. My name is Joy Asonye. This is it for today's episode. We'll be back next week, so do have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.